Welcome, my guests. Today I'm going to talk about the German real estate market. My name is Stephanie Schäfer. I'm a publicly appointed and certified appraiser in Germany, and I'm the owner of a real estate company. My office is in Bonn. Germany is the most populous country in Europe with a little under 81 million inhabitants. I think we are a blessed country. We have a very low unemployment rate of under 5%. And historically caused, there was no dominant center, and there are only 4 cities with more than 1 million inhabitants. These are the 7 biggest cities in Germany: Munich, Frankfurt, Berlin, Hamburg, Düsseldorf, Cologne and Stuttgart. Everybody knows from Mercedes-Benz. And the biggest 4 cities with more than 1 million inhabitants are marked with the stars. And the little heart on the west side, this is where my office is and where I live and work. What forms of ownership do we have in Germany? There are 4, but the 2 main are full freehold ownership, typically for family homes, and condominium ownerships for condominiums. But from their value, they are rated as full freehold ownerships. One thing to mention: commercial properties are nearly always full freehold ownerships. Otherwise, it's very difficult to market them. And then we have 2 other ones, but we can neglect them here. Who may buy? This should please you. There are no restrictions. Private individuals and legal entities with legal capacities both can buy in Germany. And there are no restrictions on non-Germans owning or selling properties in Germany. The land register. It's a central document for the legally binding information about the property. The 4 most important informations are the size of the site, not the building, the owners and the share of ownership among them, impediments, for example, a right of way, or rights of third parties, and of course mortgages. By the way, you see here Amtsgericht. This is where the land register is situated in my city. Important to note, a change in ownership is only valid when it is changed in the land register. German leases are regarded as contracts, and there is no information in the land register about them. The notary. So this is the impartial middleman between the seller and the buyer. The notary sets up the sales agreement, and without notarization, a sales contract is void. So the notary manages the whole process from payment, change in ownership, and transferal of rights. But beware, a transferal of rights doesn't mean that the notary checks the correctness of the owner's statements. The owner can tell whatever he wants about the size of the building or the condition. And in German contracts, obvious defects need not to be pointed out, only hidden defects which the seller knows and doesn't tell the buyer about. And this is where the seller is liable for. Financing. Contrary to the US, the mortgage is usually not transferred from the seller to the buyer. The seller pays back his bank, and the buyer negotiates a new mortgage. In Germany, you should have at least 20% down payment if you need a mortgage. And banks are very afraid in Germany, so a bank appraiser checks the building, its size, its condition, before the finance commitment is made. So mortgages with fixed interest rates are the norm in Germany, and usually span is between 10 and 20 years. A little bit to taxes. When a seller lives in the house, there is no capital gains tax applicable, and there is no German income tax. Only investors who sell their property have to pay for that. Germans tend to buy houses for life. So there is little fluctuation on the market and less fluctuation than you are used from the US. So choose your home wisely, because it can take a long time to resell it. The 3 most important factors for the value of a German property: location, location, Location. Why? Germans like to walk on foot. They like the closeness to public transport and to shops. For example, you see here, my hometown, that's our city center, and it's a walking distance to my office and where I live. One thing to mention, in Germany we have a rate of ownership under 50% because renting is rather cheap in comparison to buying. Now, what interests you most, I think, the cost of transaction. The buyer has to pay most of the costs, and they come on top of the purchase price. They are between 10 and 12%. And these are notary charges, the registration in land registry, property transfer taxes, the relinquishment of preemption, and the agent's commission. So the percentage differs from federal state to federal state. For example, the property transfer tax can range between 3.5% and 6.5%, and the agent's commission between 3 and 6%. The seller has to pay a little bit, and that's his bank fees for deleting his mortgage out of the land registry and the agent's commission. But the agent's commission is negotiable depending on the market, and it ranges between 0 and 3%. Here you see two typical homes in Germany. On the left side, a condominium building. On the right side, a typical family home. What you may notice is that the homes are much smaller than in the US. Germany is smaller than US, so how comes? The average for a condominium is 750 square feet on average, and for a family home, 1,200 square feet. The building quality in Germany is very good as the cars. And this is due to strict building codes. So most houses in Germany are built from masonry, and prefabricated homes or wooden structures homes are regarded as inferior or are very uncommon, and they suffer from lower reselling prices. So stay with masonry homes. Good to know. As I told you before, Germans build their houses for a lifetime, and they want to pass it on to the next generations. They do not expect a very strong increase in prices. And the government tries to prevent the escalation of prices by opening up new building quarters. We have strict environmental regulations in Germany, and this can mean, if you buy an older house, that buyers are forced, after the transfer, to invest in their home. For example, the exchange of a new heating or ventilation requirements under the roof or in the cellar. And one thing to mention, this is not important for investors, but for people who want to move in themselves. If you intend to move in, never buy a house with a tenant in Germany. We have very high standards of rental laws, and it can take up to 1 year or even longer to get rid of the tenant or to move in yourself. Where can you find information about the German property market? The German property market is intransparent. And this is due to strict data protection laws. So there is only general information, and you cannot deduct or compare the price of a sale to a certain home. So we have 3 big real estate websites. That's Immowelt, Immobilien Scout, and IVD24net, the new portal established by the Realtors Association IVD. So, and the IVD tries to make it the #1 portal, and it's filled with listings by their realtors. Immobilien Scout has general market information about the demand and supply situation, about general prices in an area, or a certain location, or certain types of homes. So, but these are all based on asking prices. If you want to have information about real sales prices, there is, on a county level, the Committee of Valuation Experts. On my county, I'm a member of it. And this publishes yearly market reports, and they're based on real sales prices. But as I told you before, it's only general. You get prices for certain ages of houses, certain areas, but no specific information for a certain home or sales price. Now, the leading realtors association in Germany, IVD, and I'm a proud member of IVD. It's the biggest association and it has 6,000 members. I have to admit, it's nothing compared to the US with more than 1 million members, but you have to see Germany is a little bit smaller. There are 3 sections. Section 1, the realtors. Section 2, property managers, about 1,500. And a very small section, the appraisers, where I belong to. All in all, 53,000 employees are under the umbrella of IVD. So why is IVD the biggest realtors association in Germany? They have very high standards. When you want to become a member, you have to undergo professional assessment, you have to undergo lifelong learning, and you have to have sufficient insurance. And this is important because in Germany there is no law concerning real estate agents to the realtors. In Germany, the cooperation among German agencies is rare. Every company fights for itself. And the American referral system is nearly unknown. Agents are generally engaged by the seller, not by the buyer. The commission can be charged to both parties because there are no laws regulating the height or who has to pay it. So ask beforehand when you are a buyer how much you have to pay and who you have to pay. And I want to say something about the cooperation between NAR and IVD. There are international contracts for international investment in Germany and for Germans wanting to invest in the US. There's Inge Frerichs. She's our president's liaison to Germany. She has a wealth of knowledge, I can tell you. I've put up her email address in case you have any questions. Bother her, she can help you in any way. So the German residential property investment market, it's hot at the moment. Why? We have very low interest rates, under 2%. And we have an ever-increasing demand for concrete gold, what we call buildings. The strongest demand is in metropolitan areas and in the mid-priced segment. At the moment we have a gap opening. Rental prices are increasing, but sales prices are increasing even further. But analysts say Germany is still undervalued. How comes? Here on this chart you see the price-to-income ratio in Europe, and Germany is among the lowest third. So you still can invest in Germany. The top 7 cities have gross yields of about 4.18%. Munich even lower. Why? Everybody wants to buy in Munich, everybody lives in Munich, and so the gross yield is much lower. The rest of the countries on average 5.5%. And because the market is rather empty at the moment, investors are sidetracking from these 7 big cities to B cities and C towns. Here on this chart, compiled by IVD, you see rental prices per square feet and in euro, and purchase prices for typical family homes. What you may notice is in the south it's very expensive, and the further north you go it gets less expensive. I don't go into detail here, it's too much information. So thank you very much. That was it about Germany. I would love to hear from you. I've put up my contact information on the bottom. I've got a YouTube channel about appraisal and realtor topics in Germany. Thank you very much.